Hello and welcome to our Flourish Your Beauty Life. Today, there's a really special episode because we're going to be talking about surrendering to our highest guidance. And this is connected to my 5 keys to transform through fierce gratitude. And I can't wait to connect with you and to share this beautiful teaching with you that is part of the ebook that you can also download, because this was given to me a couple of years ago when it was that idea of what does it take in these steps or in these ideas of self-mastery. What are we entering into when we're entering into this path of development, of self-development, of unfolding, and letting go of all of the layers that we have attached to ourselves, that have been attached to ourselves, and truly kind of be on this path of mastery within ourselves. And this ebook that you can download and these 5 keys to transform through fierce gratitude are such a beautiful teaching, are such a beautiful element of that whole, and a beautiful beginning and a beautiful constant guide along your path. And so with this, we're going to go ahead and dive in today. So first off, welcome on the 6/6/2023, because this is a super exciting day. I just spoke about all of it on the quality of the day and how all it has been building up to this, first of all, of course, to the powerful full moon in Sagittarius, and now in this waning phase of the moon, this beautiful energy that is available to us. So I spoke about it in my Inner Sanctum, my daily audio transmissions that you can also subscribe to if you're interested in that. And it is such a beautiful guide for you on a daily basis. I literally sit down every morning on weekdays, and by 9 a.m. I have everything downloaded for you to where you have about 5 to 8 minutes every day of accessing the most potent energy that's available to us in the day, with me decoding, tuning in, channeling the information based on all of my years of knowledge and everything that I have gathered in my life. And it's such an honor for me to bring this to everybody every day. So this way you have a way of tuning in to this frequency in a very condensed way of knowing, oh, okay, this is the essence of the day. This is where we're all going, where it's leading us, especially during these times of uncertainty and all of the things that are constantly going on and all of these moving parts. This is such a beautiful support for you. So wanted to let you know, in case you're not familiar with it, you can definitely check it out. I have the links everywhere for it, and it is such a beautiful opportunity to be part of this. So these keys, this key that we're tapping into today, we're technically tapping into 2 keys that are part of my ebook and part of this whole journey of the 5 keys. The third key, which is one that follows the second key that we have previously done, is one that we do all the time here in these lives, because it is about aligning yourself totally to source energy. And this is what we do when we come together and we do our ritual. We connect in through the heart center, we connect in through the soul center. And this is always the space that we want to occupy and that we want to move and guide our life from. And there's a little bit that I want to share with you on this before we move into the official surrendering to the highest guidance, which is one of the most important key things that we can do in life, because it removes the ego and brings us into alignment, not only with our higher self, but purely with source energy. And it is one of the absolute foundations for any spiritual practice to develop. So with this, let's go ahead and begin, first of all, with aligning yourself totally to source energy. What does that mean when we align ourselves to source energy? It basically means that now we're no longer in this space of having to have it all figured out and being the ones that feel like we always need to be in charge. But we're stepping into a space of connecting to this higher guidance. And of course, this is a principle that applies to everything, and we have different names for it, from God, source, goddess, divinity, eternal heart, eternal space, divine spirit, whatever you want to name it. It is all that same creation, that same creator that created everything in existence, and that we are a part of, that we're always a moving part of, a moving element of, that we are created through. And there's never ever a moment of disconnect. It is always oneness, as I have shared before in one of the previous lives where I talked about my story, my first origin story of how it all came to be for me. So you might want to go back and check that out, and I'll make sure that I'll link that later as well toward the end of this. And really, one of those key things for us is to know and understand that when we're coming from our heart center, connected especially with the more outward soul center, that soul center is really the closer inner part, but at the same time also it sits outside of the self, it exists outside of ourselves in the multidimensional spaces, as well as that core within us, connected always to the center of our heart. And this is where we find that alignment with source energy. We are in a space where there's a certain magic to life, where there's a quality that develops, where we are unstoppable because we're no longer feeling that we're alone. We no longer are in that idea of having to know it all, of having to have a goal, having to be able to reach something specific, but more bring ourselves within that alignment, the source energy, within that alignment of the flow of life, and within that alignment of ourselves. If you remember the centering exercise that we've done, so we center ourselves first, and then from here we are now in alignment, and we're connecting in with something higher, something more divine, divinity within and through us and around us, which is of course us in the end, because there is never a disconnect. But it is that idea, that click that has to come in to say, okay, this is actually me. And so in the end, again, it takes us up into a higher quality, into a higher frequency, higher octaves of existence. And we are moving then with the overall flow of life. And this also combines now with that fourth key within the 5 keys to transform through fierce gratitude. And that fourth key is the surrendering to the highest guidance. And again, these 2 keys kind of play together. There are slight different nuances, but in the end, it is one leading into each other. And they're not in structural order where it has to be first this, because you always find yourself moving through these keys in different ways. And it's always a guide for you for the rest of your life to always check in every situation and in everything that's going on in your life, in all your relationships, to always see, where am I within these 5 keys, and how does it all resonate with me, and where do I need to find alignment, where do I need to surrender, where do I need to be in my power, where am I out of alignment as far as my energy field. And so finding always this balance within these is such a beautiful thing to always consider on our path of self-mastery. And surrendering to our highest guidance is one of these things that is challenging at times, because when we hear the word surrender, it has different nuances to it. And so there's always like this underlaying current to it as well, of what has that meant before in past lifetimes, in other times, maybe even in our life, when we have surrendered to something. And so there's a lot of trust that comes in with that, of knowing that this is a different kind of surrender, because it is surrendering that part of our ego that wants to be in charge, and it is bringing us into a true space of power and energy, and again into a higher state of frequency. And so this act of surrendering is not weakness. It's not giving up anything, but it is gaining. It is adding onto ourselves, because now we don't have to be the ones in the driver's seat. We don't have to have it all figured out. We're coming from that space of harmony, in alignment, now into a space of knowing that in every experience we can trust that guidance, because we have surrendered the idea that we need to know every step, first of all, that we need to have this specific goal that we're reaching toward, that we need to be in that singularity of space, because we're not. because there is something so much grander than us and this huge support system. So this surrendering to higher guidance also connects us into the higher guidance system that we have with our angels, with our guides, with our higher selves, with source, and through it and with it. We can then, when we're truly embodying that, understand that we are so taken care of beyond measure. And in every moment of things, when things happen, because where it really comes in is how do we react when stuff comes up? How are we being in the moments when things don't feel so easy, when challenges come up, when things don't make sense? Do we still trust in that higher guidance, and can we surrender to it? Can we surrender to the moment of understanding and knowing that there is something much larger, much grander at play that we can see from our point of view, and truly let go and be in that space of that guidepost that surrendering offers to us, because it's a huge guidepost for knowing that when we are on our soul path and when we're in that beautiful space and in that embrace of source, of God, goddess energy, and in that beautiful connection that we're held and we're taken care of. And that within the bigger picture of our self-mastery that we're developing, and within that beautiful space of transformation, of guidance and connection, that there's always a way forward and that there is something there that steers us in these directions, even when it feels challenging. I know all of us, we've gone through a lot of stuff here in the last couple of years, and sometimes it's been challenging to trust and to know and to surrender in a way that is genuine to us, where our sense of knowing and our trust within ourselves and our higher guidance was challenged at times, where we needed to figure out where we land with everything, and we needed to be so strong within that space of surrender to the right guidance, to the highest frequencies, because from that space is where we were able to unfold, continuously stay in that space of mastery and continue to move forward. And this is really, like I said, where those tests tend to come in and where it tends to get challenging at times, but where we have to hold our ground. And this is unique for each person. So this is not about what's right or what's wrong, because this is different for each one of us, because we all have to figure that out within our own life, given the span of endless lifetimes of no beginning, no end. And this only being a little blimp of our whole experience. But yet within this little blimp of understanding, what am I surrendering to? What am I giving this attention to at any moment? And this attention is one of the key things that we always want to focus on, because when we're truly in that surrender to our highest guidance, sometimes it feels challenging, sometimes it feels hard, but there's always that knowing of that feeling of love, of connection. This is where the soul center and the heart center comes back in again, and where it's still, even through these moments of challenges, even when nothing's showing up yet, even when challenging things show up, where we can feel and we can trust that it's good, where we can feel that love, and we know that this is coming from such a space of grace and compassion and kindness. And that is truly a ground that we are held in, that even when we feel like we're falling, there is this net that is supporting us, that is in that moment of surrender there for us, where we just know we don't have to be in the driver's seat and we can completely just let go. By the way, this teaching here today is the transmission. And then on Thursday at 7 p.m., that's when I'm going to go ahead and do the meditation and activation that we're going to be doing together, of course. These concepts, even though they are the foundational concepts of any spiritual practice, sometimes they can definitely challenge you. And sometimes it is easier to say, oh, just forget all of this stuff and forget the self-development, forget all of this. I'm just going to stay here. I'm just going to sometimes also, stay stuck in this because there's this comfort zone. And when we are surrendering to the highest guidance, all the comfort goes out the door. because now you are in the flow of that energy, and it is a forward current. And I spoke about this today in my inner sanctum, because this is right now that directional energy, especially on the 6-6 today, that is so super powerful, where the energy flow is in one direction. And sometimes we have to just say, you know what, I'm going to let go of any indecisions, and I'm going to just move forward with this. I'm going to run with it because it feels right. And again, this is where the surrendering comes in, because then we have that trust in that higher guidance, and we know that we are supported, and that there is that ground to support us. There is that safety net that is going to catch us, even when we feel that we're in free fall. And remember that this always, all of these keys play together, because it has to also be in connection with source energy. It has to be from the heart, from the soul center. And it also has to be in alignment with our energy, where we want to make sure that we are grounded and connected in, where we're not just floating somewhere in space. We are actually physically here, as much as we can even be here where there is no here. And at the same time, also just knowing that we are aligned with everything. Okay, so before we close, what I want to talk about for a moment is the whole concept of fierce gratitude. Because what does that mean with fierce gratitude? It is really about the courage that we have to have on this path of integrity, of authenticity, to not stay in the shallow waters, to not shy away from the moments where we know that we're being asked for more than what we might think we're capable of. But again, in that surrender also, to trust and know that you've got this, that you're supported, the universe has got this energy together with you. And there is a space of holding that frequency. So this way, the path opens for us, and we can continue to move through that path, and always creating from vision, never looking back, but always being as much as we can in the present and creating from that vision. And that takes courage. And that's why this whole concept is fierce gratitude, because this is not shallow. This is very powerful, very strong, because we have to be in our convictions with this, and we have to be from such a space of integrity and honesty within ourselves. If something doesn't feel right, then we have to acknowledge it as well. We can't do a spiritual practice or a gratitude practice in shallow waters. We have to know our light and our dark, and we have to embrace it all, and we have to be able to move through every moment of our life with this kind of integrity and with this understanding. And this is the path of self-mastery, and this is the path of the 5 keys to transform through fierce gratitude within and through us. So remember to be in that space of surrender. Remember to be in a space of alignment. Remember to be in a space of aligning your energy centers, and stay in that space of connection, because then you can't go wrong. And with this, I wish you an amazing, blessed 6-6 portal. And again, for all of you who listen to my Inner Sanctum, who are subscribed to it, definitely make sure, if you haven't checked it out, make sure you tap into today's episode. There's some really beautiful things in there for you. And if not, then come on in and join my Inner Sanctum, my audio transmissions, where I sit down every morning for an hour, really, about from 8 to 9. And by 9 a.m., you have it fresh uploaded live for all of the beautiful transmissions and information, for about 5 to 8 minutes for listening time for yourself, that will guide you through the rest of your day, through your journey, through your life, and will elevate all of the beautiful manifestations that you're bringing into your existence. It's an honor to be here with you, and namaste.